Hello, I'm Mitch.
And I'm Rosalie.
When the hand of God touches the hand of man, miracles can happen. Find out how, next on The Crossover.
We'll be right back.
Discover how God is prophetically uniting Jews and Christians across the world today on The Crossover. Here is your host, Mitch Jerome.
Welcome to our show, The Crossover, and today we have guests Merv and Merla Watson here to share with you Canadians that have moved to Jerusalem, Israel, to live, and accomplished musicians and composers and artists in so many different ways. And you'll get to hear some of their music shortly. Merla, share with our viewers, when you talk about miracles, a lot of the world just says, well, can you document it? And they try to fluff it off. And tell us about what happened in your life with your hand.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's something that every professional musician dreads, and that is a hand accident, and I had a dilly. In 1986, a whole piano fell on me.
Now tell our viewers why a hand was important to you, first of all. What's the hand have to do for your...
Well, a professional musician, if you're an artist, if you're a string player especially, this is deadly because then you can't play. And so the piano fell on me, and the doctor said I would never ever be able to play any musical instrument ever again. But several things happened, but
it
I
fell on you and broke?
Broke. It shattered. These are my skin grafts, if you can see those. This is where all the nerves and the muscles fell out. There's a whole story as to why I was moving a piano and why it fell, but that would take too much time. Just suffice it to say it fell, and this is what happened. And so I had 3 major surgeries, and the fingers were cooperating fine, but I couldn't hold a piece of paper. There was no grip. And I was getting more and more despondent. And so one day I had a dream in the afternoon, and I very, very seldom dream, but I dreamt that I was playing at church in Jerusalem, and all the people in the audience got up and just went crazy with joy. And it was the end of the dream, nearly the end of me because it wasn't true. And so I just got up in faith. My little son helped me with this, and I said to him, I'm going to try to play one more time. I had tried every 4 days, but the violin would just slip through to the floor. And this was very important to me because I've been playing the violin since I was 4 years old.
How old were you when the accident happened?
Gosh, what was I? I would be in my 40s. And so...
So you were accomplished already in your field?
Yes.
People knew of you. Okay.
Oh, yes. And so I went to, as I said, I went to sleep and I dreamt this, and it wasn't true. And I woke up and I was just devastated. And so in faith, I just sat down in a chair and I said to my son, give me my violin. And he went and got it, and he put it underneath my chin. And I just said, in the name of Yeshua, the Messiah of Israel, I command these fingers to play now to God's glory. And I played immediately, absolutely immediately. And what is even more astounding is my excruciating pain that I had left immediately, never to return again. I was on addictive painkillers, which I was not aware of, and there was no withdrawal. I went to see my doctor, who's the top hand surgeon in the world, Dr. Maurice Rousseau, and he nearly died when he saw me. I played for him. He cried for me, and he said, I told you you'd never play again. He said, this is the only miracle I've ever seen in all my years of hand surgery. He said, your hand inside is still a mess. There is no reason why you play. Well, he said, get out of my office. I only treat sick people. So I went to church that night, and just like the dream, which was only 6 hours old, I played. And just like the dream, the people went, they just got crazy. They just jumped and laughed and shouted in joy. It was a marvelous time. I've been playing ever since, and now my doctor wants to do further cosmetic surgery to make it look like this never happened. But I said, leave it alone. Why? Because this gives God more glory. And otherwise, I could tell anybody this story and they'll say, well, you're just spinning a yarn, you know. But when they see this, they know. And many Israelis want me to tell it over and over again. They say, tell us about that miracle again. I've written a book which has been translated into several languages, and that was my hand actually after the accident. It was after even the surgery. So it's still not as gross as it was, you know, but...
How long, Merla, from the time of the accident to the healing?
3 months.
3 months.
3 months. But the surgery did not do it. Neither did my grit. And my doctor will tell you that. He said, you had help. He said, there is no way that you can play.
So Merla, share with our viewers that you had a setback. This was your career. You were being used of the Lord. Your hand was gone.
Yep.
So was there ever, now be truthful here, not that you're not, bitterness, a little anger, or how did you handle that?
Well, I knew, you know, God just did sovereign work. When that piano fell on me, immediately I had a sense of peace, and it's going to be fine. Ihyeh beseder, we say in Hebrew. It's going to be fine. And yes, there were times when I was in terrible pain, and the only thing that would help me would be to write another song. And that's what I would do, to get my mind off of it. But it's been such an encouragement to people because, you know, a lot of people go through things in life, trials, tests, sicknesses, whatever, and a lot of times there are terrible pronouncements upon them, like, you know, you have 6 months to live, you'll never walk again, whatever it is. And I don't know why God doesn't always heal, because obviously He doesn't always heal, but He does heal. And I know that I'm healed, and I have had no recurrence of any pain or any incapability. In fact, my hand, because it's flat now, I can reach a span of 10 notes on my piano, whereas I only was 8 before, you know. And I know that I'm playing better than I ever played.
Wonderful. Well, great testimony. I never heard a testimony that wasn't great. And so trials and tribulations come to the believer too.
Absolutely.
And you need to learn from them. Merv, share with us about Roots. You have a ministry, the two of you, Roots.
Well, some years ago, we really felt that people needed to know and be reestablished as to the roots of their faith. And its roots means recycling of Old Testament secrets. And with a lot of people, the Old Testament, the whole thing is a secret. They never delve into it, they never read it very much. And actually, the first 5 books of the Bible are the Bible. Everything else is commentary.
Correct. Okay.
So the more we
the Torah.
Yeah, the Torah, the Tanakh, the writings. Because we hold everything in common, the fathers, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, the prophets, we hold these all in common with Israel. And therefore, there's lots of common ground. The question of Messiah being Jesus or not being Jesus, that's a question that will only be answered when Jesus comes. Because you heard the story about the Messiah arriving at Lod Airport in Tel Aviv, and a journalist ran up to him and said, well, I just have one question. Is this your first time or your second time to Israel? And he said, no comment. You know? So it's almost a no comment. We know what we believe. We know there's only one door to heaven. We know that the Lord said that salvation would come of the Jews. It just so happens that Yeshua, his name is salvation. It means the same thing. So we know that this is the fact. However, there is a tremendous commonality that we have in Israel with all sorts of different Jewish people that are there. And we are thrilled with how much we have learned from them. We study with a rabbi, and we go into words, and he only reads the Torah and Tanakh. And so he only reads these books, and he has all sorts of insights that we who don't have a command of the Hebrew language like he has would miss.
Let's come back in a minute to picking up on the roots here. I've got some questions for you for our viewers. But first, why don't you guys perform for us and share with our viewers some of the talent that you have here in music. You can hear one of their songs called Zion Will Begin to Sing. Enjoy.
Zion will begin to sing, a world of jubilee The Lord He has decreed, His Spirit will be free. Behold, I will do a new thing. Oh, shall ye not know it? Shall ye not show it? Oh, Jerusalem. Remove your stumbling stones, wake up those dead dry bones. You shall report with joy. Zion will begin to sing. The walls of Jubilee will ring. The Lord He has decreed, His Spirit will be free. Behold, I will do a new thing. Oh, shall ye not know it? Shall ye not show it? Oh, Jerusalem. Remove your stumbling stones, wake up those dead dry bones. You shall be born with joy. Zion will begin to sing. The walls of Jubilee will ring. The Lord He has decreed, His Spirit will be free. Behold, I will do a new thing. Oh, shall ye not know it? Shall ye not show it? Oh, Jerusalem. Remove your stumbling stones, wake up those dead dry bones. You shall be born with joy. Yeah.
When Moses led the people out of Egypt, Adonai said, I am the Lord who heals you. Whether the need is physical, emotional, or spiritual, healing is for all. Welcome to the Healing Room.
Hi everybody, I'm Angela,
And I'm Lloyd.
and we are so excited to tell you about the Healing Room.
What is a healing room? Well, Malachi 4:5 says, Look, I will send to you Eliyahu the prophet before the coming of the great and the terrible day of Adonai. And he will turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to the fathers. The ministry of the spirit of Eliyahu, or Elijah, is a ministry of reconciliation and healing, especially in relationships.
People of all ages have issues of the heart. People my age are angry with parents and other authority figures.
And even people my age are still angry with God for many things. The call of the crossover is to unite Jews and Christians through their God.
That's a ministry of reconciliation. It's a ministry of healing relationships.
The crossover is creating an online healing room to facilitate the ministry of healing and reconciliation for all seekers. Sometimes healing needs to take place between the Lord and His children. Sometimes healing needs to take place between people groups like Jews and Christians. And sometimes healing needs to take place between a father and a son, a mother and a daughter, and sometimes it needs to take place between second or third generation Holocaust victims and the descendants of a Nazi.
The healing may be relational, emotional, spiritual, or even physical.
The Lord told Moses, I am Adonai that heals you. Whatever kind of healing you may need, the Crossover Healing Room is about facilitating that healing. It is an online virtual venue for helping Adonai's children seek and receive healing from Him.
Young and old alike, we all struggle with bitterness, rejection, and hurt. We all need to experience God's healing.
Too many times we carry the pain of our past in ways that affect our relationships and our ability to shape the world that we live in. But you can overcome the pains of the past and find real peace and happiness.
If you want healing, I encourage you to visit the Healing Room, where you will experience help today and joy forever.
You can visit the Healing Room online at www.thecrossovertv.org/healing room today and have your name in the Healing Room. Once again, here is Mitch Jerome.
Welcome back to the crossover. We're with Merv and Merla Watson, and that was an incredible song you just performed for us. Thank you, guys. Merv, give us an example of one of these secrets, roots.
Well, if you take the very first book of the Bible, Genesis, which means Bereshit, means the beginning. If you take this word Bereshit, which refers to a beginning, and we go the beginning, And then you take the next word, bara. Bar, you've heard of Barabbas, who was on trial with Jesus. Barnabas, who was Bar-Nabas, he was the son of Nabas. Bar means son in Aramaic. If you take that bar, it means son. The A is an abbreviation for God's name. It's the first letter of the alphabet. It means one. And you combine bar and A, you get bara, means son of God. But also bara means created or caused to happen. So in the beginning, the Son of God caused to happen. Those are the first two letters of the Genesis, first two words.
Wow.
Another one...
pretty rich language right there.
Absolutely is rich. And we're the fourth away. In other words, we've gone from Hebrew to Greek to Latin to English.
So
and you know what
to
you
understand our roots, we have to really go back to the Hebrew.
That's right. And why, John Harvard started Harvard Bible College centuries ago. And you could not graduate from there without having a handle on Hebrew for 100 years.
So, let me understand this. Your roots ministry is to help the church,
Right.
reading the book that's 4,000 years old or
Right.
whatever, reread it with maybe another layer peeled off here?
That's right, definitely, many layers. For example, Nachmanides was a very famous rabbi in the 12th century in Spain. He wanted to know what the mean length of a month is, because the first day of the month is very important for the festivals. So from the first 42 letters, I should say, of Genesis, he worked out the exact mean of how long a month would be, or when it would start. If you were to sit, you'd take you 632,000 years to figure out the mean, because it's an elliptical thing, okay? So he figured it out exactly how long it was, 56, so many days, and so on with the seconds. NASA, in 1990, wanted a moonshot. With all their expensive equipment, they came within a millionth of a second. Nachmanides figured out in the 12th century with no instruments,
Really?
just the letters. So that's another thing. And then there's the whole question of this Bible code. Now there's some men that are world famous mathematicians, that's better, and physicists who spent their whole lives looking at the possibility of a Bible code. And they've come up with some amazing things. Now I've read practically everything that could be found on this. And I know there's something there. I don't certainly go for necessarily the first book called the Bible Code. But there's another book. It's written by Dr. Satinover, Cracking the Bible Code, a beautiful historical account of the whole development of the codes. Well, everything we have, our DNA, everything is coded. We're discovering that everything in the world is coded. So why wouldn't the Bible be coded if it's the same author? So we see these tremendous presence of connections, shape, structures. And that's why the Jewish people make such great research scientists. They see that something happens twice. They say, must be a law here. They find a law, they make a machine. They do well.
Where are these churches that are unraveling this code, looking at the Hebraic of the word, teaching the Hebraic roots of Christianity?
They're all over the place.
All over the world?
Yes, all over the world. As a matter of fact, there's a little book on churches that hold the Sabbath on Saturday. Now, we're not Seventh-day Adventists, but we do set that day aside, because you can choose any day. We choose that day. Well, we worship on Sunday, but there it is, Sabbath. So this book is now increasing every year by the number of churches who've discovered these aspects. Then the festivals. They're the festivals of the Lord, the feast of the Lord, appointed times, not just Jewish festivals. They're for everybody that's grafted into the Commonwealth of Israel. So why wouldn't they be for us who have been grafted in, as we believe? Okay? So many churches are discovering these. Unfortunately, with many Bible colleges, they're still stuck in the Greek and give you a little smattering of Hebrew, maybe a couple days of it or whatever. This is not right. It should be the other way around.
Merv, give us a little bit here on the inside to the festivals. You and Merla do a celebration called the Feast of Tabernacles in Jerusalem. I believe you started this, if I'm correct.
We started that. That's right.
And so, let me understand this. There's a bunch of Christians coming from 80 countries, thousands of them, to celebrate this Jewish holiday. Why and what's going on?
Okay. First of all, we were moved upon this some years ago to do this, and it took about 9 years to kind of, hey, now's the time. It was 1979 that we arranged a first Feast of Tabernacles in the first evangelical church in the Middle East, built in 1842, Christ Church in Jaffa Gate. About 400 people came. And the following year, there was such an interest that 1,500 people came. And it's been increasing ever since. The only limitation is the building is not big enough to hold any more. So they only bring in 3,000 to 4,000, something like 5,000, from 108 countries. And this has developed into a tremendous encounter, a high holiday that the Israelis look at these people coming and they say, this is amazing. They march down the main street of Jerusalem, holding banners and costumes of the countries. 30,000 people come down in that parade, and they're giving out things, and the Israelis just think it's just tremendous. They also pump about $18 million into the Israeli economy in 1 week through all the 16,000 rooms and the rest of it. So all these things put together are changing what Israel thinks of evangelicals. They see them as their only friends left on the earth.
Wow, that's great to hear that, because they are sincerely enamored with Israel by uncovering the roots. They're becoming more understanding. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but we do have enough time for one more song. So before we close with Merv and Merla Watson, hope you've enjoyed the show and you come back again. Here's one more song called Soon, Very Soon. Enjoy.
Soon, very soon, the spirit of supplication will fall on your land. Soon, very soon, your tears of lamentation will drop on your sand. Your nation will even make a sigh. Your eyes will stand for help from on high. Is there none to deliver? Is there none to deliver? Is there none to deliver? Oh, Israel! Yes, you will behold a phenomenal sight, the Redeemer descending in the night, the desire of nations will hear, and every heart will freeze with fear. Oh, Mashiach, King Mashiach, you come with a shout and Israel's darkest star. Oh, Mashiach, King Mashiach, you deliver with mighty power.
Welcome to the Healing Room.
Today on The Crossover, we heard the marvelous, wonderful testimony of Merla Watson, whose violin hand was once crushed by a piano, was then miraculously healed by Adonai. Do you remember how amazed her doctor was when he saw it? He had said that she would never play the violin again, and he was amazed. He was amazed because he knew that Merla's hand was still damaged on the inside and should not be functioning at all, but miraculously it was and still is. Let's briefly examine Merla's testimony. It had several important elements for those who are seeking healing from the Lord. Do you remember that she said, I don't know why God doesn't always heal, but He does heal? Notice that Merla was given a very specific promise from God. She had a dream that she was playing the violin in Jerusalem to an ecstatic crowd. That was a promise that God made, And it was a promise that Merla held on to and mixed with faith. As a result, her dream shortly came true. In addition, Merla applied the promise and her faith through a declarative prayer. She said, "In the name of Yeshua the Messiah, I command these fingers to work." And immediately her fingers began to work, and she has played the violin to ecstatic crowds ever since. Adonai does heal, even when medical science cannot. Now, there's one thing about Merla's approach to Adonai that is important regarding attitude. Do you remember Mitch asking her about whether she had been bitter with God over the loss of her hand and her wonderful gift of playing violin? She said no. She had had peace with Adonai immediately when the piano fell on her hand. Merla was not bitter. She grieved, she prayed, she waited on the Lord. She was disappointed, but she did not get bitter with God. A very common barrier to relationship with Adonai and to the promise, the fulfillment of the promise of His healing, is bitterness and unforgiveness. When tragedy strikes, people too often blame God, become bitter, and block the way to peace with Him and the receipt of His wonderful promises. If you ever find yourself in that place, forgive Him and bless Him and receive His promises. Life is victorious when all channels are opened in your relationship with the Lord. And now it's your turn. If you or someone you know needs healing, I want you to stretch your hands out toward the screen with me. I'm going to pray for you right now. Blessed are you, Lord God of the universe, who brings forth bread from the earth. Father, you have promised that healing is the children's bread. And so now, in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach Adonai, the Holy King of Kings and Lord of Lords, we release the power of your healing anointing into the spirit, the soul, the heart, the mind, and the body of this one who is seeking your promise and the realization of your healing touch right now. Again, we do it in the mighty name of Yeshua HaMashiach Adonai, who is Holy King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And remember, your name can be in the healing room. Until next time, Shalom.
Here again, Mitch and Rosalie Giroux.
Today we learned several things. First, God is still in the miracle healing business. Next, a biblical festival held yearly draws thousands of Christians to Jerusalem. Lastly, God is sovereignly drawing Christians from around the world back to their Hebraic roots of their faith.
The Watson story represents what the crossover is all about. Christians worldwide loving the Jewish people unconditionally.
Remember, these are prophetic times and God is at work.
Please join us again next time as we offer our hearts and hands to join Jews and Christians to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Shalom.
Join Mitch and Rosalie as they reach an ever-growing worldwide audience through the crossover. We invite you to become a crossover partner right now by calling the number on your screen. For your monthly gift of $30 or more, you will receive the Crossover Partnership Pack, which includes a DVD of today's program, a personal greeting and prayer message from Mitch and Rosalie, more information about the Crossover Project. As you continue to support the Crossover each month, you will receive a new Crossover DVD, plus a ministry report, and your name will be added to our healing room. Call now and join the growing family of Crossover Partners.